There is a budget line in the United States Congress called the Chaplain Appropriation. No citizen ever voted for it, and it does not appear in the Constitution, and it has paid a government salary every single year since 1789, the year Congress first convened. That is not a historical footnote. It is active federal law, and you are paying for it right now. Both chambers of Congress employ a full-time chaplain. The Senate chaplain and the House chaplain each hold permanent staff positions, funded through the Legislative Branch Appropriations Act, the annual spending bill that keeps Congress itself running. These are not volunteers. They are federal employees with government salaries, benefits, and offices inside the Capitol building. The Senate chaplain currently earns over $170,000 a year. The House chaplain earns roughly the same. The total appropriation across both offices runs into the millions annually. These positions have never been put to a public vote. They have never been the subject of a general election debate. They exist because they have always existed, and that continuity, as you will see, is the entire mechanism. The first Congress met in April of 1789. Before it had passed a single law, before it had ratified the Bill of Rights, it hired 2 chaplains and appropriated money to pay them. Samuel Provost was appointed chaplain of the Senate. William Lynn was appointed chaplain of the House. Both received compensation from the public treasury. This happened on May 1, 1789. The First Amendment, which prohibits Congress from making laws respecting an establishment of religion, was not ratified until December 15, 1791, 2 years and 7 months later. That sequence is not incidental. It is the legal architecture. When the Supreme Court was asked whether congressional chaplains violated the separation of church and state, it ruled in Marsh v. Chambers, 1983, that the practice was constitutional precisely because it predated the First Amendment. The rule was older than the protection. That is how the lock was set. The office does not sit idle. The House chaplain opens every session with a formal prayer, recorded in the congressional record as an official proceeding of the United States government. Members can nominate guest chaplains, clergy from their home districts, who travel to Washington, open a session with prayer, and receive a formal congressional citation. There is no public application process for the permanent position, no Senate confirmation, no oversight hearing. The Speaker of the House and Senate leadership select their respective chaplains internally. Every individual to hold either permanent seat in the modern era has been Christian. No member of the public has standing to challenge that selection. Remember, no one voted for this. The average American taxpayer has never been asked whether they wish to fund a clergyman's salary inside the legislative branch of their secular republic. But here is where it stops being abstract. In 2000, House leadership removed Reverend Timothy O'Brien, the newly appointed House chaplain, after only a few weeks on the job. The internal reason confirmed in congressional testimony was that O'Brien, a Catholic, did not close his prayers in the name of Jesus Christ. A replacement was installed. No public hearing, no formal removal process, no written record explaining the decision has been released. A federal employee, paid with taxpayer funds, was dismissed over his religious expression, and the matter was resolved inside a closed party leadership meeting. Your money, no record, no remedy. The Chaplain Appropriation also funds what are called pastoral counseling services, private sessions available to members of Congress and their staffs inside the Capitol. These sessions are not subject to Freedom of Information Act requests. They are not logged in any publicly accessible database. A sitting member of Congress can receive ongoing private counsel from a government-paid clergyman, and that fact will never appear in any document you or I can obtain. The counseling happens. The money flows. The record does not exist. And here is the part that should actually worry you: it is completely legal. The Supreme Court settled this in Marsh v. Chambers, 1983. The court held that because the congressional chaplaincy predates the Constitution's religious protections, it cannot be struck down on Establishment Clause grounds. The reasoning was explicit. The framers who wrote the First Amendment also voted to fund the chaplains. Therefore, the chaplaincy cannot be what the First Amendment forbids. That is a circular lock. The practice is grandfathered above the very protection that would otherwise apply to it. No future Congress can be compelled to defund the offices. Any repeal requires members to vote against a centuries-old tradition that serves them directly. That has never happened. It will not. What this tells you about every other institution is this: the order in which something is established matters more than the principle it appears to violate. If a practice is old enough, it becomes its own justification. Marsh v. Chambers did not just protect congressional chaplains. It created a doctrine, the historical practice exception, that places certain government actions beyond constitutional scrutiny not because they pass the test, but because they have existed too long to fail it. Every institution that can trace itself back far enough now operates under that shield. Every quiet budget line that survived its first few decades is protected by its own age. The Chaplain Fund is not an anomaly, it is a template. So the real question is not how many budget lines look like the Chaplain Appropriation. The question is how many of them you have never thought to look for, because the ones designed to last are always the ones designed to look like they were never a choice at all.